Welcome back. It's the season for relaxing, so grab a cup of tea. We have some things to talk about. My tea is perfect. I know for a fact that it will get cold by the time I talk to you about everything I want to talk to, but that's fine. This is the 4th episode of the penguinmodern quest journey through the box. Today we're going to talk about books from 16 to 20, and I'm going to do it slightly differently. Usually I get a book, tell you what it's about, and then I read it and meet with you another day. But I have gone through a lot of these books and forgot to film, got too lazy to film. So I'm going to talk about 5 of the books, but I'm going to do all of them today, for me. So let's get into them. The first one is book 16. This is an advertisement for toothpaste by Ryszard Kapuscinski. And if I am mispronouncing any of the authors, I am so sorry. I am trying my best. This was translated by William R. Brand, and it says on the back, the great traveler reporter finds an even stranger and more exotic society in his own home of post-war Poland than any of the distant lands he has visited. Like it says on the back, it's from the perspective of a reporter. There are 4, I believe. Let me see. 4 short stories. There's an advertisement for toothpaste, Danka, the taking of Elżbieta, and the stiff. And I found these quite strange, the stories overall. I don't know if I enjoyed them. They didn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe that's just me, but they didn't make a lot of sense. I have this is my reading journal. I have my thoughts written here. In case filming a video takes too long, I can just look back at what I have written. Like in this case, this book I gave 2 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't my favorite. It was fine, but it just wasn't my favorite. A lot of the stories I didn't fully understand their point or the point of them. I feel like out of all of them, the first one, the advertisement for toothpaste, was the one that was like, no, that's a lie. I didn't like that one either. It was something like a prom, but it just was so strange. I did not particularly enjoy this book. So this was an advertisement for toothpaste by Ryszard Kapuscinski. I know I'm terrible at explaining books, and if you want to read them, please do. Like, this collection, the box set in general, has so many authors, and you get to explore so many perspectives. But the thing about it is there will 100% be authors you just don't like, or works you just can't connect with, and this was one of them for me. I didn't like it. I didn't make any sense of them. So this was book 16. Now let's go to book 17. This is Create Dangerously by Albert Camus. See? And this one was translated by Justin O'Brien. Now, I had a vivid recollection of having read this book previously, and remembering that I hated it. And when I looked on Storygraph, which is kind of like Goodreads, if you know what Goodreads is, Storygraph is a place where you can just keep track of all your books, like what you have read, how much you scored it. There's graphics, which I love. I love graphics, and like just being told, like, you read this these kind of genres and this many pages. A lot of books were fast, medium, slow, all of that. I'll link it down below, by the way, my Storygraph, if you're interested. But I looked in there, and it did say that I did read this book in 2021 and gave it 1 star. So that was confirmation that I didn't like it then. But I was actually surprised now that I've read it again. Did I mention what this book is about? I don't think so. So Camus argues passionately that the artist has a responsibility to challenge, provoke, and speak up for those who cannot in this powerful speech, accompanied here by two others. So the first one is create dangerously. Then you have defense of intelligence and bread and freedom. Now, it was a mix. Like, I didn't like all of them. And even the first one, create dangerously, it was a little iffy, but there were so many things I underlined, so many things that just made so much more sense now. I don't know, I've matured, I gained more experiences. I don't know, I was in a different mental state when I read it. I don't know, but I genuinely enjoyed it a lot more now than I did in 2021. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, and it actually surprised me. Like, the amount of pages I underlined, there's something in almost all the pages. Now, I didn't particularly love the last two, but they had their place. I mean, the thing about these Penguin books is they do try to put different works of a specific author in a short book, but it's also, they need things to fill up the pages. They try their best to keep it like between 48 to like 55 pages. So sometimes the font will be bigger or smaller just so it fits everything, or it's like long enough for it to have enough pages, which I think is hilarious. But it is interesting to just get a snippet of the way Camus thought, and I do agree with a lot of the things he says in Create Dangerously. Also, I made a point, like one of my annotations in the first page is great intro. So let me actually read you the intro, because if I thought it was good enough to annotate it great intro, then it must be. So, an Oriental wise man always used to ask the divinity in his prayers to be so kind as to spare him from living in an interesting era. As we are not wise, the divinity has not spared us, and we are living in an interesting era. In any case, our era forces us to take his interest in it. The writers of today know this. If they speak up, they are criticized and attacked. If they become modest and keep silent, they are vociferously blamed for their silence. I just thought that was such a great intro. I still do. It's just short, succinct, to the point, and there's just this kind of splendor about this. I don't know. It's such a great intro. I love it. One of the best intros. It's just, it really tells you what he's about to talk. What he's about to talk. Something about that doesn't sound right, but the intro is great, and I do recommend reading this because he makes a lot of good points about the role of the artist in a society, and how the more we go towards like industrialism and just machinery, that the role an artist plays and how important it is that artists constantly fight against society and don't just become complacent. At least that's what I got from it. So this was Albert Camus' Create Dangerously. Now, the next book, 18, is The Vigilante by John Steinbeck. Can you see that? And this says, in these searing stories set in California's Salinas Valley, one of America's greatest, most humane writers explores mob violence, a disturbing encounter, and a bitter betrayal. Now, I gave this book a 2.75 out of 5 stars, and this book confused me. That's the entire sentiment I felt when I read this book. The stories were going just nowhere. At least it felt like they were going nowhere. The first one, I was so confused. It's about like a group of people, and there's this prisoner, and they go to beat him up and kill him, and then they bring him to like a park or a plaza, I don't remember, but they bring him out, and then this guy that's participating in the lynching or the killing just goes back home and meets like a bar owner and talks to him for a bit and then goes home. And it's just nothing happens. I was so confused. Like, what's the point? I kept reading and reading and reading, but I was just getting more confused. I did not understand this. Is this translated? No, this isn't translated by anyone. And like, even so, this has 3 stories: the vigilante, the snake, and the chrysanthemums. And the chrysanthemums, I explicitly remember thinking, wow, I just don't understand this, because it just makes no sense. So weird. And the snake, it's about this guy that's like a scientist, and he has a bunch of rats and snakes for experiments and stuff. And there's this woman who comes and she buys a snake, and she feeds then one of the guy's rats to the snakes, and she says that, don't feed the snake, I will come each day, or I will come regularly, so you can feed the snake in my presence. And she never comes again. And I was like, what? I just did not understand. Every story just left me more and more confused. And sometimes you read a story and you love the fact that you're confused, because it just makes you think. There's a kind of emotion that you have with it. This didn't do that. I was just fully confused. I still am. I don't know what was going on in there. And I was just confused. I'm still confused. It's so confusing. But this was The Vigilante. Just a confusing book overall. Like, I don't know how many times I can use the word confusing. It's just, that's the best way to describe that book. It's confusing. Now to the next book, 19. This is I Have More Souls Than One by Fernando Pessoa. This is a collection of poems. And let me read you the back first. Written in the voices of 4 different alter egos, these rich, strange, and mesmeric verses by Portugal's greatest poet express a maelstrom of conflicted thoughts and feelings. So, like it says here, 4 different alter egos. Did not understand what that was about. But some of the poems I did enjoy. Not all of them, but that's the case with poems. It's very difficult to enjoy poems, at least for me. I am yet to find just like a collection of poems or a specific poet that I just genuinely love the poems, or I can feel something towards them. I don't know. Poems just leave me a little dry. But this one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. And the funny thing is, like, in my reading journal, I specifically wrote down the guy was obsessed with Apollo because he mentions him a lot. So you can figure out just how much he talks about Apollo. Apollo, like the god, by the way. The mythology and all that, the god of sun. He's just obsessed with him. I was like, damn, dude. Like, I understand you have a favorite, but wow. But the poems were fine. Nothing to write home about, but they were fine. Again, 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine. It's poems. It's very, very difficult with poems, at least for me. It's just, they're hit or miss. And this was kind of in the middle, but, it was fine. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, there's also one poem that I wrote at the end. He's so dramatic. I love it. It's in the poem, I Have a Terrible Cold. And can I read you the poem? I'll just read you the poem because it's not that long. It says, I have a terrible cold, and everyone knows how terrible colds alter the whole system of the universe, set us against life, and make even metaphysics sneeze. I have wasted the whole day blowing my nose. My head is aching vaguely. Sad conditions for a minor poet. Today I am really and truly a minor poet. What I was in the old days was a wish. It's gone. Goodbye forever, queen of the fairies. Your wings were made of sun, and I am walking here. I shan't get well unless I go and lie down on my bed. I never was well except lying down on the universe. Excusez un peu. What a terrible cold. It's physical. I need truth and the aspirin. Amazing. You have a cold. just go to sleep. Like, so dramatic, but I loved it. I love that poet. It's just, there was something about it. I could imagine him being dramatic in the moment. So I loved it. But this is I Have More Souls Than One by Fernando Pessoa. Book 19 from the collection. And the last one I'm going to talk about in this video, book 20. This is The Missing Girl by Shirley Jackson. And this says at the back, malice, deception, and creeping dread lie beneath the surface of ordinary American life in these miniature masterworks. This book I can describe in one word. Wow. They were brilliant. Every single story had you gripped. They were just so eerie, so mysterious, so dark. It's just, you were so confused, but in a good way, in a way that you didn't understand things, and you desperately wanted to understand them, and you were like gripping. You were so close to understanding it, and Shirley just ripped the carpet out of your feet, and you just fell down into nothing, and it's just the best kind of way. I love the book, like the stories in this book. It has 3 stories. It has The Missing Girl, Journey with a Lady, and Nightmare, and I loved it. I wrote in my journal, this book blew me away. The stories were so gripping and unexpected, and I definitely felt a creeping dread the more I kept on reading. This made me want to check out books by this author, because if this is what they can do in less than 55 pages, their long form must be intense. So I am definitely going to look for more books by Shirley Jackson. I'm pretty sure there was one very famous. Was it something about a castle or something like that? I don't remember, but she writes like macabre, like very intense horror suspense kind of books, if I remember correctly. And I definitely want to check more books by this author. I definitely recommend you check this book if you are thinking into dipping your toes into like the longer form of the author, because these were just so amazing. The way she can kick a punch in so few pages, because each of the stories aren't that long. It's also one of those books that Penguin wrote like smaller so they could fit everything, and it would still work with their format of 55 pages, like I was saying. But such a good book. I loved it, genuinely loved it. So this was the last book I'm going to talk about today. This is Shirley Jackson's The Missing Girl. Book 20 is just so good. Definitely recommend. Please check it out. If you check out any of these books that I talked today, please go for this one. I loved it. Genuinely enjoyed it so much, and I hope that you will too. So these were the 5 books I read a while ago, but got to talk about them just now, and I still have a few to go. Not that many, because I have read till like 31, but I still have quite a few to read, and I'm really excited about kind of finishing this collection soon. At least that's an objective of mine. Still have some way to go, but I love this collection. It's such a great way to get to know more authors that you couldn't possibly pick up. Don't get me wrong, some books from here I picked up, I was like, I'm never touching works by a specific author, but others are just fantastic. So I definitely recommend you get the whole collection. You don't have to. If you're like interested in one specific book, you can just buy that book. They do sell them separately. But overall, this was amazing. This was today's episode of Journey Through the Box. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. And in the meantime, you can check the others if you haven't seen them already. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Also, please consider giving this a like, subscribing, and commenting below if you read any of these and if you like them. Okay, bye.
I just give the earth my soul. Hear my thoughts bounce off the walls.